being immortal. So when you is hard for a quarter, man, we gonna ride. I'm not playing. We ain't leaving out a dub. I promise you. I'm getting everything out.
That beat shit is far a little ball.
Hey, I like thanks to my nigga them. We gon' play with them pistols here. We smoking dank in my liver, yo. We get shit wet on the river, yo. We get shit wet like the river, yo. I wet shit like Austin Rivers, yo. Hey, check me out. On my side is getting wicked, nigga sliding. Mama told that boy to shake the city, so he ride. On that Mac, it be a titty, show no pity when we diving. Roll your brother in the game before he hitting, why you hiding? OG now be dropping bags, no I don't, bitch, why you lying? M.S. Closet popping tags, spent 5 racks on my designer. Put 15 up on your ass, but that's your ass.
What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the Sideline Surge. We had a pretty crazy week of college football, so we are going to get into that like ASAP. Today we got a review of week 5, and we have top 25 rankings. So let's get into it. First off, Samaj, you already know we got to talk about Florida State University first, losing 38-46 against Virginia. What did you think of that game? I mean, Florida State was going into it number 8 in the country. Like, what do you think happened with Florida State?
I think the pressure got to him, honestly. I feel like that kind of happens with a lot of big schools, when they start off the season like very, very strong and they knock out those, well, not knock out, but they, beat those, 1 or 2 good teams early on. And then it's like now they're going up against a team that's like they're a sleeper. Like not a lot of people really know about them. I feel like that's what kind of got to them, because it's like you're going against Virginia. It's not one of like the craziest programs, but people sleep on it so much to where it's like, bro, it's like anything can happen at that school. So I feel like they didn't really play as good as they could have, but it's just, I mean, that's bound to happen. Like not everybody's gonna have a perfect season or beat every single team they come across. So it's like there's definitely, I mean, it's good on their part because like at least now they'll be able to shake back going against UM, because that if there was a win, it was like obviously have a chip on their shoulder, but now it's like, okay, we gotta lock in because like we lost to Virginia, now we're going against one of the top teams in the nation. So it's like it kind of gets them back going. But from watching the game, it was pretty interesting to see how a lot of things played out. But it was overall it actually wasn't a bad game. It was pretty good.
It was hard fought too, because I mean, losing in double overtime is never a good feeling. So it's definitely gonna hurt them. But you're right, like it could be a very good wake-up call for them. Then we also had Oregon at Penn State. I think the game that everyone was looking forward to this weekend. I don't think anyone was disappointed, but Penn State lost at home to Oregon at a whiteout game. I mean, that's gotta be tough for morale, right?
I mean, absolutely. It's that atmosphere is already not like easy to go into. Just even outside of a whiteout night, Penn State is just the atmosphere is definitely intimidating. Is for sure one of those schools where it's like no matter what time of the season it is, if it's a home game at Penn State, it's like, bro, that the pressure is really there. Like it will always be there. And for Oregon to go in there and beat them with a whiteout game, that's a huge statement. That is a huge statement because everybody
double overtime
is exactly double overtime, and then people are. So I started to see how some people are slowly like drifting away from Oregon, as in like, oh, like this year they're not gonna be as good as last year. They're gonna be bust, or whatever. And people gonna say that because like if you look at the schedules last year, Oregon did play some top schools, but they mainly played not ranked schools. The schools weren't the best of the best. But people understand at the end of the day, it's still college football. That is not everybody's going to play somebody ranked every single week, or they're not going to play top programs every single week, and especially if you know how football works now. But even with that Penn State game, you could see how Penn State they're really building towards something, because You know, as we all know, in recent years, Penn State has been crazy for defense. They've been having some insane rushers come into the league, and for them to be able to like, you know, organize everything so well to the point where even on the offensive side that gets overlooked because of how strong the defense is, that says how like they've really been trying to perform very, very good and show people like they're the school to beat. You know, my top three or top 4 or 5 hasn't really changed at all. It's still the same 5 teams because like they're playing so good. It's like you can't not put them in, you know, in that top 5. And for Oregon, that's very good for them. You know, you beat one of the top schools in the nation, ranked top 25, and that gives you a lot of good, you know, that gives you more of that good exposure. You know, every people are already riding behind Oregon, but for them to, you know, come out strong against a team like that and still be able to, you know, finish in double overtime, that's huge, because double overtime is not easy at all. It really isn't. Like that's literally the last thing you want to happen in a college football game. So it's definitely good for Oregon. But Penn State, we can see how there's still probably like one or two things they need to fix on the offensive side. But overall, a great game from both teams. Like it was amazing.
I think one strong question after that game is, I mean, do they have what it takes in their passing game? I mean, we had Drew Aller going 14 out of 25, not even breaking 150 yards passing, and a game-losing interception. I mean, questions are surely being asked about their offense, right?
Exactly. That's what I was saying. You know, like their defense has always been that good, but that's what they really need to focus on is offense. You know, it's one thing for you to always have something be very good at, like the team is just great at defense or they're great at offense. But if you can't be able to work the ball on both sides, you're going to end up struggling against teams that's able to do that on both sides, you know, or even if it's the opposite, even if it's good, you know, good defense on both sides, but yet at least Oregon has a running game, and then Penn State may have a throwing game, or is, you know, vice versa. That's always pros and cons to each other, because then now they're trying to figure out how to either stop the run or stop the throw every single time. That's the same thing that we saw right here. Throwing wasn't, you know, that good for Penn State, while throwing was, you know, pretty good for Oregon. So it's like you got to try to know your opponent and pick up things that they may have done, you know, or used against you, and use that to your advantage. You know, that's why we study film. That's literally the whole purpose of it. Yeah. So now you just got to, you know, go back, watch that film, and try to see what things you need to fix, or even take things from other people or other teams, you know, that you add to your game.
100%. And then we had, I think, the most, what's the word? The most heartbreaking one, at least for both of us this weekend. LSU at Ole Miss, losing 19-24. To honestly credit to Ole Miss, they put up a good game to LSU. I think proving the haters wrong a little. What did you think that LSU failed at in this game?
LSU definitely failed at, I would definitely say discipline. That was for sure what they failed at, because from watching like the full game, you know, all 4 quarters, watching it, you could see how Ole Miss, they kind of had like that same energy, you know, as LSU. They were pretty strong on both sides of the ball, but LSU just lacked the discipline. There were so many penalties that was going on that was costing them, and things like that really shouldn't have happened, because that's what really cost them the game. There are so many times where it was either a holding or it was a PI, and then they end up, you know, giving them extra yards, or it was one play of the game where it was actually supposed to be a pick, but really right before that there was some holding involved. So it's things like that really cost them the game. But I definitely feel like it was more on LSU not, you know, being mentally there, like being mentally locked in. So for Ole Miss to, you know, to still come to the game, you know, and do everything they need to do, that says everything, you know, right there. I said it before, you know, Ole Miss is not a school to where it's like, oh, they're not Bama, they're not LSU, they're not Tennessee, or even like in recent years, they're not Florida, FSU. You know, they're not one of those teams, but Ole Miss has always had just a strong overall program. You know, and we've seen that with Jackson Dart there. They were undoubtedly one of the best teams. So for them to still have that same type of momentum going into this season is is good for both, because now we definitely get to see some good matchups from both of those teams down the road.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, out of quarterbacks, we saw Trinidad Chambliss at Ole Miss putting up, what, 300 yards for
Yeah.
passing? And he won AP National Player of the Week. I mean, is this guy... I mean, it is early for the draft, but from this performance against LSU, would you say Trinidad Chambliss, now as a senior, is ready for the draft?
I mean, that's it varies. We kind of saw the same thing of how I would say we could even say Shador or Milrow from last season, how like that season it was very good for them on certain parts, but
Mhm.
then it was like once they placed certain teams, those certain parts wasn't up to par as it was before. So it's like now for him to go against a great defense with LSU, it's like, okay, we can see how his decision making, his vision, and everything is there. And even with him taking a few scrambles, we can see how he's actually trying to make sure the game flows well, and he's versatile. He's not trying to stay in the pocket and and take those and take those bad opportunities. So for him to actually perform that good against LSU, I definitely think he's ready for the draft. 100%. He's ready for the draft. Now, will he be the best QB in the draft, or will he be, that QB to rise in the next draft class?
Yeah.
We don't really know. It's still kind of early in the season, but it's never really too early to be like have that eye for him. Like, okay, maybe in the NFL he will actually be with a perfect team. He would be great. It's never too early for that. But I definitely want to see him go against another, top school to see how he handles it, because every school's defense isn't good and every school's offense isn't good. So we definitely got to see him go against a top school in order for us to really, I guess make that, decision.
We definitely will before the end of the season. They have 4 games coming up. We have Georgia in 2 weeks. We have, or yeah, 2 weeks about. Then there's Oklahoma University, South Carolina, even UF. I mean, we saw UF's defense is pretty good. So he'll definitely have a lot more chances to prove himself. And then the last game we gotta talk about, Bama at Georgia. I don't want to focus too much on the two teams. We both know how many problems they've both had this season. What I do want to talk about, however, is the SEC as a whole. So far in the season, I do not feel very confident about the SEC's performance. I mean, we got Georgia, who has been shaky, and they just lost to Bama. We got Bama, who, they played better against Georgia, yes, but they have been shaky throughout the start of the season. We have, I mean, Texas has not played well. There's a lot of questions about the SEC right now. What do you think about the SEC standing? I mean, even UF isn't even ranked this season. What do you think is going on right now?
I think it's more on I wouldn't say it's the talent, it's just the use of talent is what I would say. There's all we already know the reputation of the SEC, so there's no debate there of them being one of the hardest divisions there is. But it's like you also gotta think of how before SEC every single team was good, no matter what the team it was. Every single team, they had that fire and that power behind them to back up everything that they say. But now it's like we could see how it's on the decline with every single team in the SEC. As soon as Saban left, Bama, even though there's a bunch of talent there, is the team is unorganized. You don't see as much discipline there. You don't see as much of a coach putting his foot down on the field and making sure that the players are locked in. With Georgia, we good great coach and great program, but we don't see how he's not putting as much effort as he usually does. We with his his play calling and all that, and there's nothing to take away the coaches, but they don't understand that you have everybody going against you, especially because you're in the SEC and you have a huge reputation. You can't you know, you can't fuel the fire behind all these other teams because now it's going to feel like they have a huge advantage over you. You can't do that. So now with the SEC, we're seeing it with literally almost every single team. UF, recent years, has not been good at all. Their defense has always been, there. But other than that, a program overall, players and everything, attitudes horrible. Like they have not been doing anything that they really should have been doing. Bama, we've seen the same thing as soon as Saban left. Georgia, of course they, back-to-back champs, but then right after that, it was gone. All the fire and everything was pretty much, not there anymore. And we can't even really blame, the overall schools. It's just that now we have to understand those programs obviously aren't getting as many, good players there anymore. There is obviously, some good players going there. And then we can even say the same thing with Texas. Texas in recent years, I'll definitely say they've had some of the best recruits there. Texas, Bama, Georgia, or even UF. And then we can even say South Carolina. Sneaky talent coming out of South Carolina. Like there's so many teams where it's like they have the talent there, but it's just the overall program and how they really operate is been on a decline, and we won't know the reason why at all, but it's like they have to at least give some of their fans hope, because now I'm having a whole bunch of people, like, oh, what's going on with Georgia and all that. And years ago, you wouldn't even think of that, like Georgia struggling, or even Bama struggling, or even other teams outside of those divisions. So it's like you wouldn't think that, but now with SEC has to step it up. There is literally like pretty much putting their reputation at like a horrible standpoint.
I mean, if we look at the top 5 right now of SEC, we got Ole Miss, Missouri, Vanderbilt, Oklahoma, Texas A&M. These are all teams that are traditionally not at the top. Traditionally, we see Alabama, we see Georgia, we see LSU, we see Texas, we even see Florida, maybe Tennessee, and those teams are now dropping down in those standings. And now Ole Miss, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, they're all 4, 5, and 6 spots in the AP poll. Missouri is up there in 19. I mean, do you think this is a permanent change in the makeup of the SEC? Do you think like the dominant teams of the SEC are changing, or is this just a temporary road bound for the traditional teams?
I definitely want to say it's kind of like a mixture. Like right now, we're definitely going to experience a drought of SEC teams being at the top, but it's for sure going to only be for like not a long period of time. It's for sure going to change, but right now we can't really say anything about it because of how many changes are going on all throughout college football with with NIL, and then all of these being schools actually having to pay teams actually play them and things like that. That's what we're seeing now. So it's like it's kind of rough for everybody overall in the SEC and just all throughout college football. But I definitely think that it won't be for long, but we're probably going to see like a solid maybe 2 more to 3 years of SEC not being as dominant as it usually is.
Yeah. And then we just gotta talk about some top 25 ranking changes real quick. Obviously the biggest moves right now, Oregon back up to number 2. I think we had Miami. We had a short life at the top, and even if we beat FSU, I don't think we'll be put above Oregon, but it was worth it. Ole Miss, as we said, is now number 4, moving up 9 spots in the rankings. We also got some big moves. Penn State University, I do want to talk about them. How are they still at number 7? I mean, obviously they stood their ground against Oregon, but I don't think number 7 reflects their position, because besides Oregon, they haven't really played good like games against strong teams. And I mean, I saw someone especially call out teams like Iowa State University, Vandy, Missouri, who have had, I mean, not the strongest schedules, but still they're undefeated, and some of them are SEC teams. Iowa State University has had some strong games, and they're ranked pretty low compared to like Penn State University, Texas, Georgia, Alabama. Do you think this is some like bias going on with AP rankings, or does Penn State University still deserve to be in the top 10?
I mean, that's kind of difficult because like you see how Oregon, they're obviously a great team and all that, but they've only gone against, one ranked team so far. They do play Indiana coming up, but with them only playing, one ranked team, I kind of feel like it's a little unfair for Penn State to drop down, so far, because it's like you have to understand that both the teams haven't really played, 2, 3, 4, ranked teams. It's even on both sides. But putting that into consideration, you also have to look at the other teams that, that's also on the rank, on the list. LSU. LSU literally just lost to Ole Miss. So of course they're gonna drop down and Ole Miss will rise up, right? And then with Penn State losing, they're also gonna drop as well. So I don't think that they should be, that high. I definitely feel like LSU, like, they're exactly where they need to be, because they haven't, it wasn't like a horrible loss or anything like that. And Penn State, obviously, it wasn't a horrible loss either. But I definitely feel like for those teams that have actually, played a dominant school and, beat them by, a decent amount, those teams definitely should have, rose up the list a little bit more. But I mean, it's you never know. It's AP ranking, So it's always early, for us to really see if AP rankings are wrong, because it's like it's always, one good ranking this week, and then next week it may, like, oh, like, why they rank this high or why they rank this low. It's always going to be like that with AP. So
Yeah.
you can't even really tell how, if it's like good or bad, especially if you watch the games, because then it's like it's a hard decision. It's not like, oh, this team beat this team. No, this team is not even ranked anymore, and this team is already in top 3. Nah, they're actually making some pretty decent moves with it. It's just it's kind of like questionable, because it's like, whoa, this team just lost to, a top ranked team, but then this team barely won against a top ranked team, and then now, like, they're way ahead. So it's definitely weird, but we really won't know until like way later in the season.
Yep. Just to wrap up our college section here, shout out to University of Virginia. They're now ranked number 24. Definitely deserve that spot after beating FSU. We got some rising stars still. We got Vandy, Georgia Tech, obviously still holding in there. Missouri, obviously, they're slowly climbing. Hopefully, they will be able to show off their skills and hopefully climb a little higher than they are right now. But I do want to ask you, Samaj, what are your solid top 10 teams right now? Like, out of the top 10, choose maybe 1, 2, 3 teams out of those top 10 that you think are solid teams right now. For me, obviously, I gotta go with Oklahoma. They're solid, they're there. I want to see something out of them. Still, I know that they're gonna have some good games, but I do think they're gonna be solid. They usually are like the upset team, especially last year. Texas A&M, I think we've already seen them prove themselves this season. I hope they keep proving themselves, but I do think they're a good team right now. And lastly, Indiana University, I think is sitting right there at the 8th spot, and I know they're gonna have some big games against, Oregon this week, or next week, sorry, and Penn State later in the season. So I definitely think these are solid teams to watch, and they still have pretty challenging schedules coming up. What about you?
It's kind of hard to tell, It's definitely, I want to say, more than really 2 to 3 teams that should be, in that top 10, or some teams that should be at least moved down. But I definitely have to agree with Oklahoma for sure. That, like, you can't argue that they're definitely a team that, they really solidified their spot. And I feel like they should move up a little bit more, only because we see how obviously Ohio State, won a chip last year and all that. They've only played one ranked team, and that one ranked team was Texas, and they haven't played a ranked team in, almost 5 weeks. So it's like, I feel like them hanging on to that number 1 spot, I feel like that's where the bias kicks in, and teams like Oklahoma, should move up because it's like they played, more ranked opponents, and they even have more ranked teams on their schedule. So I feel like that's what's kind of, debatable a little bit. But even another team, I think that they should move up soon if they win this game. If they definitely win against Oregon, Indiana, if they definitely win against Oregon, they should not be anywhere out of the top 3 because
Yeah.
you've already beat Illinois, top 10 team, and then now if you beat Oregon top 2 right now, you should definitely be in that top 3 100%. You beat the number 2 team. It only makes sense for you to be in that top 3, if not top 5. So it's definitely a few teams that it's kind of hard to tell where they fall, because surprisingly this week AP rankings aren't really horrible. They're kind of fair all around. It's just now we really have to see how all these next teams,
Yeah.
all these teams perform, in the next week for sure, because there's so many ranked games coming up now. It's like we really have to pick up the pace with how these rankings fall in place.
We're definitely gonna see Oklahoma at some point, either prove themselves or lose their spot. I mean, the last 5 games of their season is literally all against ranked teams. It's Ole Miss, Tennessee, Alabama, Missouri, and LSU. So they'll definitely have that chance. But anyways, that was our college section. Please watch our NFL section. It's gonna be coming right up, and we're gonna get to recording that. But thank you for watching. I'll see y'all later.
Yeah, 16 on it. Yep, low spur. We going all the way up. Yeah. I'm gonna turn this bitch all the way up. Hey, Brandon, yeah. I'm on the block with that heavy, on the block with that heavy. Watch out for cops that pull up in them Chevys. They about to crack my main trap, her name Betty. They niggas don't want no smoke on my body. Gucci and Louis can't do no Zanati. That bitch on me look like she hang with Kylie. I used to fuck with a bitch, hang with Kylie. On the real, I think that bitch live in Cali. My boy shot the powder, the flower, that Kylie. Yeah. I could've been a stylist. I remember when the boys used to dollars. I got a girl that trap like she from Dallas. I got so much money, need an accountant. She said
What's up, everyone? Welcome to Sideline Surge. We are here in our NFL section. We're going to talk about Week 4 and the divisions to watch going forward, since we are now a fourth of the way through the season. Wow. Or at least the regular season. So anyways, first off, our Thursday night football game was an exciting game. Seahawks versus Cardinals. I think for the most part, the Seahawks were dominating pretty well. We saw Sam Darnold kind of go back to his Viking self. But there at the end of the game, we saw the Cardinals almost come back. Thankfully, Jason Myers, got that good kick in. But I think, Samaj, this game, I think especially, is another example of just how solid and competitive the NFC West is right now. I mean, if you look at the NFC West standings right now, all 4 teams have the exact same, except the Cardinals, have the exact same standing, 3-1. Who do you think out of these 4 teams is going to end up on top of the NFC West?
I don't know, man. That's big, because my thing is like watching, as my team is not in, in the NFC West, I have big opponents already. But then it's like with NFC West, it's all even. All those teams are like, it's not even just this team is way better. It's not like you have the Bills and then the Jets or something. Like, no, every team is literally even all across. So it's really hard to tell, because it's like, bro, it's literally like flipping a coin. Like, you have no idea what is gonna happen, like, at all at the end of the season. But in my opinion, I feel like right now it's definitely between Hawks and Rams for sure. Those 2 teams are for sure battling for the top spot. And even though Niners are there right now, Rams are just that team that you cannot predict. They may lose, to a team that's, equal to them or just a little bit worse, but then they'll win against a team that's way better than them. It's like, it's with them, it literally has to be like, you cannot predict that. But then with the Hawks have, they have always had that chemistry, going into the games. You could see how Darnold, he was actually operating pretty good throughout it. And then we could also see how Cardinals were kind of, like letting him get those opportunities as well. So it's like it's kind of hard to tell based off that game, especially because Cardinals, like they have some talent there, but they never, try to uplift their talent. It's always just been,
Stagnant.
yeah, it's always been like it's never moved. It's always been at that same point. So for this game, we could definitely see how Darnold, he's for sure back to his Viking self, and I don't think he ever lost it. It's always been there. It's just that circumstances is what really put him in that position. But for Cardinals, they obviously last in the NFC West right now. I definitely feel like it will for sure be Hawks and Rams, fighting for those playoff spots, because we don't really know right now, even with 49ers being number one, but I definitely think Hawks will be that number one team by the end of the season, and in the NFC West for sure.
100%. And then I think the most worrying game of the weekend, Ravens at Chiefs. The Ravens lost 20-37, losing by 17, losing Lamar as well to an injury. It was an ACL injury, right?
No, hamstring.
Hamstring. And he is currently questionable to return. Is it panic mode for the Ravens, you think? Or because I asked you last week, after they lost, is it panic mode for the Ravens yet? And you said not yet. But now Lamar Jackson is questionable, and even if he comes back, a hamstring injury is pretty hard to get by. And they're now 1-3. Is it panic mode for the Ravens now, do you think?
I feel like right now Ravens are still on par with Chiefs, and only reason why is because we kind of we've seen the same thing. Chiefs only winning their second game. It's like we could see how they both have similar things that they need to work on. O-line not being able to really provide, and then defense, they have everything there. It's just they're not putting the pieces together to really lock it in and have a great game. So I would say like it's definitely turning into panic mode. Like if this is the week where they have to lock in, because you already lost to Bills, Lions, and Chiefs. You need to lock in now for sure. But at the same time, we've seen it before. It's Chiefs last year, they didn't start off the season great. They didn't start off the season super strong. So we kind of see the same thing going on with the Ravens. But at the same time, Ravens need to at least pick up momentum to get them into playoffs. That's the only thing about it. We already know it's a good team in regular season, but it's just making sure that you finish strong and actually make it to playoffs. That's the only thing that they really have to work on right now. If you barely win games, that's fine, but you're still winning them. You need to make sure you at least secure your spot.
Yeah.
So right now is definitely turning into panic mode, but we really won't know, because there's so many teams where it's like it's shocking us. Like the games are not turning out how people would think they will. So right now they have to really try to fall back and just reassess everything. Like they really have to like take a look at everything that's going on, because they haven't been playing that good at all, really. Lamar barely has time in the pocket, and defense isn't pulling through. But we got.
If they have to put their backup quarterback in, it's not gonna. I mean,
exactly.
Cooper Rush is their backup, so it's not the strongest position.
And even with him being a backup, he hasn't even played not one down at all.
Yeah.
So it's like for him to have to get in the game, get thrown into the game at that moment is difficult. But then that goes back to what I was saying before of how the Chiefs they never start the season super strong. They may win against those good teams, but they never dominate as they usually do. So if we see the same thing here with the Ravens, they could be a team to fear down the road. But right now nobody's fearing the Ravens, because they're just not playing that good. They lost to 3 of the best teams, so that's definitely shaking up the franchise a lot. But if they don't pull through here, then it's for sure like almost over for their season.
Yeah, and then I think talking about surprises, Jackson Dart showed out and showed up for the Giants this weekend against the Chargers. The Chargers took home an 18-21 win against the Chargers, finally breaking their 0-win streak. I think it is fair to say we probably won't see a lot more of Russell Wilson this season. But for Jackson Dart, do you think Jackson Dart might be the future of the Giants, or is it too early to tell?
I mean, it's not really too early to tell. Giants they're really, you know, establishing, a good foundation for the future. And then obviously, prayers to Malik, with that
Yeah,
injury. That
100%.
that definitely, it could shake up Dark because now it's like his number one option is gone. That now he has to try to build up chemistry with his other receivers. And obviously that has to happen. You always gotta have chemistry with receivers, but now it's like for you have to make sure you step up as a quarterback and make sure now your receivers step up as well. So for him in that game, for him to still, play that good, I definitely see him as being, the future of the Giants. Now, does that mean the Giants will completely turn around and be one of the best teams? We don't know yet. It's too early for us to really decide that, and even with them having great players, League Dart, and then even Cam, and then you also having Duke Carter on the other side of the ball. That like they have talent there. It's just they gotta make sure that they don't only rely on that talent, because as soon as somebody goes down, then it's literally Jenga. It blocks from there. Everything starts falling down. So they really have to make sure that they don't rely too much on just one or two players, and they definitely can't do that with Dart. That's a lot of pressure as a rookie, all off rip. That's a lot of pressure, and even with your vet QB not being really
Yeah,
there on the field to help you, that's even worse. So he could for sure have like that blueprint to be the future for the Giants, but they didn't make sure they strategically make sure everything in that blueprint is mathematically correct. Everything is drawn correctly. They have to make sure that all that is set first before they try to move on.
I think a good thing for Jackson Dart is that, the next game they have is against the Saints. So, he's gonna get some good reps there. It's not like the most challenging team in the league right now. They could, still lose against the Saints, like 100%. They're not in the clear yet. But I think they definitely need, if they win the Saints game convincingly, they'll be pretty set to go to be at least somewhat convincing for the Eagles that they have right after. And then the last game we have to cover, the absolute nail biter, Sunday Night Football, Packers versus Cowboys. I don't know if it's true or not, but I saw a meme the other day, yesterday I think, that was saying Cowboys have the number one offense and the number 32 defense. Like, my roommate is a huge Cowboys fan. He was saying if the defense was at least somewhat good, this would definitely be the Cowboys season. What do you think about the Cowboys right now? I mean, I definitely agree with that. I definitely think Dak was like that pass to like get them within field goal range at like the end of the game. That was insane.
Bro, is the Cowboys are like that one good team on 2K, to where it's like they have everybody there, bro, and they have like talent one through like all positions 1 through 5, but
Besides
then
Michael Parsons.
like a freaking glitch happens in the game, and then now they end up missing the game winning shot. That's literally how it is for them, bro.
Yeah.
It's always been like that, because like the Cowboys have never been a bad team. It's just been a bad organization. That's really what it was. Like we've seen it over the years, bro. They've had talent come in and out of that. Like, bro, it's insane the amount of names that has been on and off that roster. So for them to like try to make an excuse of how, it's all on Dak, or is all on the defense, like, okay, cool, defense may be trash, but then if you're over here only putting up that many points against a not so good defense as well,
Yeah.
then that's not even really on the Cowboys. That's just both that's bad ball on both teams. Because for the fact that the Packers even let them get to 40, and Packers defense is actually pretty decent, that literally
They
says
somehow
how
held
like
Micah Parsons to only one sack. Like that was
exactly
insane
like
to me.
for them to really like be that good of a team, and then the Cowboys be somewhat good of a team, like pretty much half because defense isn't that good, bro. That literally says how the Cowboys can be one of the best if they just make sure they build overall on that team. Like they don't
Yeah,
know what
but
they're doing.
they couldn't pay Micah Parsons. Like it was too much to ask, I think.
Man, I don't want to hear excuses, bro.
I kinda like off topic question. What do you think about overtime? About the overtime rules? Do you think they should add back double overtime? Or are you okay with ties in this league?
In my opinion, I feel like it should be a rule change, bro. It should be something to where like soccer, you have penalty kicks, bro. I feel like
Mhm.
that's where it should go to because it's like we under, bro. If you're on that field and it goes to double overtime and you're moving at NFL speed, bro, you're literally done. Like you won't be able to last another like maybe 2 minutes on the field for
Yeah.
sure. So I mean, so it's definitely good for safety and just for players' overall health. But you can't end a game in regular season in a tie. That's kind of dumb. If it's preseason, of course, like we don't want anybody getting injured or anything like that. But that same rules apply if you don't want anybody getting injured, in regular season. But when it comes to a tie in regular season, that's completely different.
Are you
You should
talking
not
about
have
like
anything in a tie.
are you talking about like red zone overtime rules? Like where they start the ball on the opposite 20?
Nah, I think of it as like superstar KO, right? You
Okay.
have pretty much no kicking at all.
Mm-hmm.
Think of it as to where obviously you start, you know, um, a certain part of the field or whatever, but you only have a certain amount of downs.
Yeah.
You cannot, like obviously you get a first down and all that, but once you get past a certain point in the field, you have a certain amount of downs because that's that like you got to think about it. They're only just going to keep running the clock, especially if it's overtime. When you can't go to double overtime, they're just going to keep running the clock down, and then probably going to kick a field goal. Then the other team gets the ball, and now they're trying to have their defense just not make a move. Like that. I feel like that's not even because
Yeah.
then it really depends on who gets the ball first. So for it to be something like superstar KO or like penalties where you have kickers, if it comes down to double overtime, kickers
Just let the
go kick for
kickers kick
kick,
it up.
go kick for
Wait, I
kick.
kind of
Like
like that, honestly.
it's really good because like now, first off, now you're giving your kickers more of a chance to really like solidify the game. Now they
Yeah,
have more chances to make sure like, okay, if
to
I
earn a
mess up
better
here
salary.
and it'll be better here, then it would just be better overall for those teams. So I
Yeah,
I feel like it should be a rule change. At the world time, it's definitely smart to not have it because you have grown men like going
yeah,
against each other late at night is for sure like smart, but you can't end the game in a tie in regular season, bro.
yeah. And just to end off, you have some time to think about it. What are your teams to watch so far now that we're 1/4 through the season? I already know my teams. My teams are the revitalized Giants now with Jackson Dart. I don't think they're gonna, turn around and somehow become like the best team in the league. However, I am gonna be looking at how they do for the rest of the season because they look promising. And while this may not be, the year where they make the playoffs and go all the way, this is definitely that year where they're gonna start, looking at what works, what doesn't, working on the chemistry, working in practice, making themselves solidified and get some experience for Jackson, right? And then obviously the teams I think that I always say to watch are the Rams and the Steelers. Like you said, they're unpredictable, sure, but they are solid teams. They always have solid seasons. They always go at least like, 9-8, 50%. They make wild card round. Maybe they'll make like uh the next round of playoffs. They're teams that you always just have to watch, have to look out for. If you let down your guard, you're gonna lose. What about you?
I definitely agree on Giants for sure. Like I think that's what starts the arc. It's not like a team is gonna completely turn around overnight. Like it's not gonna happen. Now that could happen with certain teams, but for a team that's has been struggling for so long, it's finally good to see them actually have a promise there. Like, okay, if even if we can't finish this season good, it's still promising for the team to, you know, at least be able to start strong next season and possibly, you know, have that turnaround season. You know, so I definitely think Giants is that team for sure. I agree with you on that. And I'll also just even piggyback off of, you know, Rams and Steelers, 100%. You cannot argue that those teams are like, oh, they're trash, or like, or they're, you know, they're good. They've
Yeah.
been at the same point, you know, for a very long time. And it's just like they need that one extra push to get them over the hump. Like that's really all it is. You know, they get that one team, you know, or that one game to really help them, you know, get over that hump, and then, you know, they're in playoffs. So it's definitely, you know, those teams for sure. Now, I definitely think we should look out for the Bucks. Even though the Bucks are 3-1, and you know, with Mayfield definitely being top 10 quarterback, in my, like, he's for sure
Yeah.
solidified his spot top 10 quarterback.
He's a
For
dog.
him to, yeah, like for him to really go to that program and pretty much change it like right there and then, that says a
Mhm.
lot, because now you put, you know, some decent vets around him, and then you add some, you know, some very talented rookies into the mix. That's going to help them a lot. You know, we
Yeah.
already see how you know, Egbuka coming from Ohio State, we already see how him as being a receiver, he's a dog, bro. Like his catches and his, you know, his route running has been insane. He's been, you know, performing very well. So if they used to really, you know, add a little more around midfield, they're going to be insane, honestly, because you can't really argue that any other team in that division is going to be a problem for the Bucks. You know, you can't really argue that. Atlanta, they've kind of started, you know, that arc of turning the whole program around. They've started that, but it just hasn't gone well for them. You know,
Yeah.
so the Bucks are definitely another team for people to watch out. And even though it's 3-1 right now, it's still early. You know, it's still early in the season. Some teams go from number 1 to literally number 4. It's very quick. So we'll see, you know, later on.
Yeah, 100%. Well, guys, that's been our NFL. We are 1/4 through the season. Very exciting. I'm very excited to see what happens. We'll probably do a similar episode once we reach halfway. But yeah, that's been our Sideline Search episode. We'll see you guys next week.